and shut this off. But yeah, so I have things ready, and I got a hat that carries a feather, warrior plumes, and one of the things that they asked when they said we'd like for you to be a part of this podcast or this YouTube channel is they wanted to ask me what topic of discussion is important. And one of the topics that I like having a discussion about is um, communication, learning to communicate with one another. And one of the things about communication is being able to not just the words that we speak or the tone that we use or the words that we use to describe, or if we're, you know, using our communication with our thoughts or with our feelings, if we're being congruent with both of them, but also understanding your intention behind what you say, what you speak, what you're saying, what you're meaning. And I kind of wish that that they did show up to their podcast here or to their YouTube channel, because it's a good topic. And I now I don't know how to start this off just on my own, but I think that that's the difference between Western society and indigenous people, is that regardless of what's happening in our life, um, if we say if we if we say that we have to do this, we do it. And I know that that's indigenous ways. Like, even like, let's say for an example, um, in a First Nation community, when there's things that needs to be done, there's things that are needed to be done. Um, let's say that there's a celebration of life, like a powwow or something like that. Strangers will open up their home for singers and dancers that are out of town, where it's like you don't need to go to a hotel or drive an hour out of the community for a hotel. Like, people will open up their homes to singers and dancers and different things like that. Um, and and when it comes down to it, uh, Anishinaabe people, tribal people, indigenous indigenous people usually have this sense of a greater good needs to be done, while Western society people, European American people, kind of have this sense of like, well, that's not my issue, that's not my problem, you know. And then they go directly to, I'm not going to allow a stranger around my family. I'm not going to do that. Like, my kids will be in danger. It's like that their mindset is so um, scarred because of the movies that they watch, the news that they watch, the TV that they listen to, the 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 stories that they read in the paper. And I truly believe that on a conscious and subconscious level, there's a reason why those types of stories come number one, that the ones that are in the front page of the newspaper, is because one is, how are we supposed to keep people guessing, keep people down, keep people from not wanting to see at times how beautiful this world is? When you open up the newspaper every day and it's, oh, another murder, oh, another assault, another robbery, another armed this or whatever, right? Police are trying to look on the lookout for this person, and there's things that are put in place, these systems that are put in place to ensure that in our mind we look at the negative at everything. That the first few um, pathways in life, we're always seeing the bad, the negative in front of us. We're always seeing stuff that's going to be um, not good for our um, emotional intelligence and mental um, our mental health and our spiritual growth. It's, which in essence hurts us physically, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that the indigenous population, as much as we've been through so many different things, and there's going to be a bunch of people out there that are going to say, oh, it's all a lie, you guys get free education. I've heard these things. You guys get free education. You guys got a free ticket all the time. We put millions of dollars and we pay taxes every day so that you can have free this and free that and free homes, and all of that nonsense and lies that people are fed, and they actually believe, right? They actually believe that that's where taxes go. So at the end of the day, communication goes a long way, and it's such a broad topic. This is why it would have been such a good and open discussion um, with these individuals on their YouTube channel. Now let's start very basic, right? I want to kind of give an example of the how important it is to be cognizant of what you speak, the words that you say. There's a lot of people sometimes that they're unable to see their potential because they have words in their vocabulary like, I can't do this, it's too hard, I can't be that, I'm not smart. They literally self-talk themselves into not being able to accomplish what they want, or to go for if they want to go for. And at times, we as helpers, and I'm talking about all types of helpers, people that have good hearts, you're a helper. People that work in the helping field, you're a helper. People that have spiritual connection, like myself, and a lot of other people here on Turtle Island, is that we're able to see the potential in a lot of the people that we meet, a lot of good qualities that people have, a lot of strong um, connections to emotions and mental, like it's just a huge imagination that's considered a good thing. It's not even a bad thing, where it's like they're able to imagine just these great things, and able to problem solve so easily that it's like, what are you doing with your life? Why why do you say that you're not going to amount to anything? Like, you have such great potential. And then we meet these very spiritual beings that are really powerful, that they need guidance, and we just get to meet a lot of beautiful people. But then their focus, for some reason, is shifted onto something that they shouldn't be focusing on. And whoever's watching this right now, if there's ever a time where you're focusing on something that isn't good for you, that isn't um, something that will give you joy or life or happiness, or why are you focusing on it? I remember there was a relative of mine. Um, she started drinking pretty heavily, and as she was drinking, um, there's one day I just said, you know what, like, why are you drinking so much? Like, how come you're drinking a lot? And it turns out it was because she was still heartbroken over an uncle that passed away like 4 years prior. And this is a very sensitive topic because it's like somebody else can't tell the other person how to feel in regards to somebody passing away. You can mourn them and grieve and all of these things. And you can do that and miss them. That's okay. That's a healthy thing. But when you're grieving and you're mourning and your capacity to live life that day is altered because of something that happened 4 years ago, that's not grieving anymore. That's suffering. And there's a huge difference between grieving and mourning somebody and suffering. I think that suffering is a choice. And I know that that might sound insensitive, but let me explain. Me as a full-grown man, um, I was uh, I was abused as a child. I was sexually abused as a child, and in the moment of everything that was happening, I was suffering. I was grieving over my innocence. I was grieving over my childhood, mourning the loss of me not being able to feel safe again or to feel um, truly happy. My innocence was taken. However, if I choose to still cry today, or to to be so heartbroken and feel sorry for myself today to the point where um, I'm not doing anything, just sitting there drinking with other broken, lost people, that's a decision. That's a choice within that time. And it all starts with communication, with the way that I communicate with myself. I I haven't stopped drinking. I haven't stopped drinking. I haven't quit drinking. I just choose not to drink today. I choose not to have a beer today. I choose not to have a glass of Fitch whiskey today. I choose to not fight today. I choose to not um, be angry today. And when you live day by day and you live that moment by moment, it's the way that you talk to yourself. Being able to understand that, yeah, but Maya, that I'm still here within that moment, within that this moment. Like, for an example, with the person that said, let's do a podcast. Let's do a YouTube video. I can choose to sit and mope around and say, you know what? I took my bundle out for you. I am supposed to be putting my bundle away because of me losing somebody very special to me at this moment. That December month is not a good month for me. It's a very hard month for me because of all the things that have happened to me. I could fixate on you canceled, um uh you canceled last minute, and all of these things. I could choose to be upset at that. I could choose to be um angry at. That's cool how the hand came up, eh? I could choose to be upset at that. However, because this podcast or this video is important for the message, that's the difference between Western society people and indigenous populations. I'm still going to continue to give this message that is truly needed for people. And whoever's watching this right now, who's ever signed on to this video, is you're meant to listen to this message. This is for you. So I can choose to be upset at that, but I don't. What I do is I say, okay, that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that that some things came up and that people aren't able to do what they do. But I can't fault them because they aren't my culture. They're not the Anishinaabe people. They see the world in a different lens. It doesn't make it wrong or right. It's just it's a different lens. They see it as, you know, we could just do this another time. As for me, this is very important right now. We have set time aside specifically for this, and it needs to get done. Now, having said that, there's and there's a bunch of times where it's like creator doesn't want you to do this, right? Creator doesn't want you to talk about these things as of yet. So maybe that's what is being told to them right now, that right now it can't be you guys on this video. It maybe just has to be just him. Or it's the other side. The other side is trying to get people not to listen to this video, or for trying to put obstacles in the way. And sometimes that's kind of where I feel like there's going to be a brand new day, that there's going to be something that's going to happen, something good that's going to come out of it, is that when there's a bunch of obstacles in your way, that the bad side doesn't want you to do the work, doesn't want you to be where you're supposed to be in that moment to help other people. So when we communicate with ourselves, a lot of people think you have to have a good mindset. You have to have a good mind. You have to have positive thinking and positive understanding of what's needed. And I I agree with it to a certain extent. I don't think that being positive, having a positive mindset or positive thinking is really going to help. You know, it's like, imagine, just for pretend, you bring your all of your friends and they have a whole bunch of kids, and you just wanted to say, hey, you know what, friends, bring your kids, let's all have big dinner, let's all have, I'll watch a family movie. Come on over to my place. I'll cook. I'll get everything. We'll just have fun. good old fun. And once your kids are done eating and we have popcorn and watch a movie, you guys go home and just have a beautiful night. It's a beautiful thing to do. And then after your friends and their families leave, you look at your kitchen and it's completely destroyed. There's dirty dishes all over the place. You looked at your living room, there's, you know, ripped up newspaper and just it just looks terrible. There's glass spilt Kool-Aid on the floor, like just a whole bunch of different things, right? Popcorn all inside the couch. And the place is just a complete disaster. One of the kids flush their teddy down the toilet or something like that. Now it's clogged, like just not good stuff happening. What I kind of think at times is what positive thinking is that you stand in the middle of your house, you close your eyes and you say, my house is clean. My house is clean. My house is clean. And then you open your eyes wishing that it's clean. But I'm going to tell you this, it's not going to be clean. It's going to stay dirty until you do the work, until you do halfway point of that work. So when I talk about communication and focus, that's what I mean is that as an Indigenous person, I'm going to be standing in the middle of that mess and say, you know what? This sucks. I got to clean up all this stuff. But at least the kids had fun. My friends had fun. They were able to take a break and shoot the shit with each other for a little bit and have a good time and all of these different things. And my house is a mess. But you know what? I have a house. I have a nice house. And I know that I have a nice house because my place is usually a lot nicer than the way that it looks right now. I'm so grateful that that there's four walls and a roof over my head right now. I'm so grateful that I could afford to share my food with my friends and extended family. I'm so grateful that I have enough in my life to be able to use what funds that I have to make to get cleaning products so that I can clean up this mess. I'm so grateful that I have two legs and two arms where I am able to actually clean up this mess. I'm so grateful that I have pots and pans and dishes to actually serve to people within my community. I'm so grateful. Do you see the difference between those two? Right? A lot of us today, it seems like we're conditioned and we're taught to stand in the middle of that house and Western society in particular, to stand in the middle of that house and be like, I have terrible friends. They don't want to help me clean up. Like, I mean, I gave them food. How come they don't want to help me? And you just start going down this negative pathway where you keep on adding more and more and more of all these things that you're ungrateful for, all these things that are bothering you about life, all of these things that continuously bring you down further and further and further until to the point where you start learning or remembering all the reasons why you're depressed. Oh, it's just like this every single day. I have friends that are terrible that come and eat my food and they don't even have the audacity to come and help me. I have all these kids come here, I give them a break and they go and put their teddy bear inside I wish my friends knew how to take care of their kids. I have all this mess and I mean like I'm only just one person, and nobody wants to help me. It's just like my family. Nobody wants to help me. And then you start being sucked down into this this pool of just terrible feelings and depression. And then you start thinking about the future of how it's never going to change. And then you start getting anxiety. And then you can literally think your way sick. That's how powerful our minds and the way that we talk is, our communication, the way that we speak. the way that we're able to communicate with ourselves. That's how powerful words are. This is why a lot of unsnabill people, we say words have the power to give life and death, because you can either one, same person inside that, closing their eyes, hoping for it to be clean, opening it up and still seeing a dirty place, but then saying, you know what? I'm grateful for this, and this, and this. And at least I have all the limbs and all of this. I have my eyesight. I got my speech where I can like listen to music. I'm not deaf. I could hear music. I could put music on. I can light candles. I could do all of these other different things. And it's like that chore turns into something fun, grateful, happy. Or you can go the other way. My friends are terrible. Their kids are terrible. This house, is completely dirty. It was clean before they came. And just all of a sudden, you're going way back into that childhood of nothing is right in life. So, positive thinking, do I think it works? Kind of, to an extent. That's the positive thinker of closing your eyes. I want this house to be clean. I want it to be clean, and opening it up, and so sad it's still dirty. Or you could think positive and do the work. So, creator, God, the universe, the source, your higher power, whatever words that you use, Jesus, um, Allah, whatever wording that you use, creator, Wankatonka, for all my Sioux people out there, is willing to meet you halfway. You have to do the work. You can pray and pray and pray and pray and put positive vibes out there and think positive, think all that you want. But if you don't do the work, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if you do the work in terms of like, okay, so I'm here thinking positively, I want this to be clean. Let's play some music. All right. Let's start with one room. Okay, which one is the easiest? Let me go plunger the toilet first. All of these different things. You start with a plan and start to execute that plan, and you keep going. And then as you're doing this, you, even though you're a little upset, you're getting upset at, like, you're plunging the toilet trying to get that, teddy bear out of there. It's like, little Timmy, crazy little kid. I love that little nephew of mine, right? And then you're plunging it more, and it's like, what a cute little guy. One of these days when he's old enough, I'm gonna give him a noogie kind of thing or whatever, right? All of these way that all of these ways of communication to yourself is highly important. So first off, always remember communication with yourself, the way that you talk, right? There's been so many times where I've seen people, how they speak to themselves is literally the way that they continue to be, or the way that they live their lives, right? Man, I want to quit drinking, but I can't. I've heard so many people say that. I've heard so many people, man, I want to quit drinking, man. It's just I can't. You're not going to, because you need to first start speaking in a way that's more congruent with what you actually want. If you truly want to stop drinking, today I'm going to stop drinking just for today. Then the next day, I don't want to drink today, just for today. Then you keep going. Every moment that you get thirsty, every moment that something happens, there's things in life that you can change. And it starts with communication, the way that you speak to yourself, the energy that you put on. I I I remember reading this on, like, it was like a little blurb or something like that about Bruce Lee. I forget exactly how he said it. Let me pull it up actually. He said he said something along the lines of, I'm probably really gonna mess this up. Is here, Bruce Lee. Um, all right. Yeah, here we go. I found it. So Bruce Lee says, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and they cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself and you can change your life. Now, I'm somewhat of a Bruce Lee fan. I like his movies. Like the scrap that he did with Chuck Norris. He he seemed like very willing to master his craft. But I really like those words. I like the words that he speaks there about how, even as a joke, you shouldn't tease yourself because your body doesn't know the difference. And that's exactly right. You know, the way that we talk. Um, have you guys ever, those of you that are at home, have you guys ever had, like, even as a kid, right? Even as a kid, um, you get in trouble for something. You get in trouble, you get yelled at by your mom or dad or whatever, she smacks you or whatever the case may be, and then you're sitting inside your room and you're just crying and you're just like wishing hateful shit on your mom, like, or dad, right? Like you're just like crying there and whatever, and you're just and all that, and then all of a sudden you're like, please, like, I want her to die or I want him to die or anything like that. Like, as a kid, you don't know, right? You don't know how powerful the words are. But that's kind of where it's like innocence as a child. As an adult, we don't tend to do that as much, or we shouldn't be doing that as much anyway. Where it's like you say you get into an argument with your wife or whatever, or husband, and then you're driving off trying to cool off, and you're like, that asshole, that piece of shit, I hope he croaks. It's not good to do that. It's not good to say it out loud or to like wish hateful stuff on on people, even if you're trying to vent. And I guess I can surmise it to this is that the greatest form of bad medicine when it comes to indigenous people, what bad medicine is when people speak horribly about you, when they wish death upon you, or when they you know, do horrific things like that. And what's challenging to understand is, and what a lot of people don't understand, even my own people, is that when you send out bad things out into the Atsukanak or out into the Gakanegego and the universe, whatever you want to call it, it bounces back and comes back to you, right? Just like that saying, I've been using this as since I was like grade 9 or whatever, many years ago, where it's like when you point one finger, there's three fingers pointing back at you, right? But it's the same thing with words. You know, you say something like, that person, like they stole whatever my truck and completely smashed it. Whoever did that, whoever stole my shit or whatever, I hope he dies of herpes or something like that. And then all of a sudden, it comes bouncing back to you. And then you find out, like, let's say, for an example, you're somebody you care about, your best friend. All of a sudden, hey, bro, like, my wife cheated on me and I got herpes. It's like there's things that happen when you put out bad things out there, it comes back to you. It might not necessarily be you. But when I first heard about this and when the elders talk about it, I thought to myself, I don't want any of my kids or anybody that I love to go through this. I don't want anybody to wake up and hear, oh, like there's a whole bunch of things that happen, like bad stuff that happened, right? So I try to be like, because I'm human, right? I try to be cognizant of the words that I speak. I try to be congruent with the way that I feel, with my thoughts, and learn how to separate those things. When I speak about myself, even right now, I'm not well when it comes to my health. So when people say, what is it? What kind of sickness do you have? Usually what I see, what I don't really want to talk about that. But what I will say is I'm healing right now. I'm healing. When you use those types of words, that's exactly what happens to your body. Just like how that Bruce Lee thing says, is that, I'm not, oh, you're sick. Well, what is it? Is it cancer? I don't want to talk about that. What I'm going to say is that I'm healing right now. I'm healing. Oh, I heard, I heard somebody said something bad about you. Here's actually a good story. Um, for those of you that don't know me, I love reading. I have so many books. I have literally thousands and thousands of books. I have so much books. I like to read historical books. I like to read um, educational books. I like to read about economics, about business, about like law, about anything and everything. Anything that I find fascinating, I just love reading about. Um, but I have lots of books. So much books, in fact, that I have bookshelves that are full, and then boxes inside my garage full of nothing but books. Like there's a lot of books that I got. So when I when I look at uh when I take a look at uh what was I saying now? Jeez, books. Why was I talking about books? See, this is also a problem that I have. Your memory tends to kind of go all over the place when you have an important thing. When you have an important thing to say. Yeah, I was going somewhere with my with my rant about my books. Started focusing on my books. I don't know. I forget now. Um, but yeah, going back to communication. The way that we communicate with ourselves is very important. Um, and then what's also interesting is also English. English is very difficult. It's hard to be congruent in English. In my language, and a lot of indigenous languages out there, it's almost too easy to stay congruent with what you're trying to say. I remember speaking to people, and sometimes when they were inside the house, they would say with a very clear translation of "Where is your washroom? I need to take a poo." This was coming from an elder, and it doesn't matter because how it's said in the language is very clear, very accurate, very congruent with what's happening. That's it. There's nothing gross or there's nothing anything about it. We all do it. It's just a normal way of life. But in English, if you were to do that to another English speaker, we have these words in English that allows us to kind of walk on eggshells with one another. If I was over at somebody's house, may I use the restroom? May I use your washroom? Yeah. And then sometimes there's people that are congruent that I know that they'll come and visit. Hey, bro, man, where's your washroom, man? I need to take shit. Yeah, it's just down the hall, turn left. But usually in English, there's this need to be, what's the word? This need to be proper. So when we're proper with ourselves, when we're able to be congruent with the way that we speak about ourselves and about other people, then it doesn't come back to us. It doesn't it doesn't allow for any kickback. I'm gonna sing you guys a song, okay? We haya ya yo hey yo hey yo hey yo hey yo hey da da hey 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 yo hey da da yo yo hey yo hey 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 yo we haya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey yo hey da da hey yo hey da hey 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 yo we hi yo hey yo hey yo hey yo hey yo we haya ya ayo ayo ayo. So that song comes from my tribe, and what it means is that it's welcoming all of our ancestors in. And I really need help being able to speak in and give enough information in English to truly captivate what I'm trying to say. Now, since I'm doing this video on my own, it's difficult to kind of gauge the conversation on where it should go. But what I would like to say, and I guess end with, is that when we talk to ourselves or other people, we need to remember our spirit and intent. Now, our spirit is our voice. A lot of people don't really understand what that means, right? I usually listen to a lot of Christian people, and they say, "Oh, you mean my soul?" No, I not. No, I don't mean your soul. You know, but isn't soul and spirit the same thing? No, it's not. Your soul is something that's a little piece of Yajamanic, the creator that's inside you. Your spirit is what you make it to be. Your spirit is what you choose, the words that you speak. Now, we don't know how far our words and our actions go. We don't know how far it goes. If we were to throw one rock out in a big lake and all that rings, we don't know how far those rings go. And let's say that rock is hatred. One of them is hatred and the other one is love. In your right hand is hatred, your left hand, love. And we decide to be hateful that day, you know, tell tell somebody to F off or, kind of be angry. and we throw that rock. What if that person that we told to F off was going home to go hurt themselves, to go kill themselves, to go unalive themselves? What if that was to happen? So we as people need to take that into account. And instead of saying F off to this person, be like, you know what? Man, I'm sorry. I'm angry right now. I don't know why I'm angry. It's obviously not you. I don't even know you. Take into account, I'm just having a bad day, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to take it out on you. Or, hey, sorry for being an ass, man. It's not you, man. You know what? Let's start over. How are you doing today? What if those little words that you chose in that moment, that person is rushing home to go unalive themselves? Meanwhile, because you took an extra couple words to say something peaceful, nice, something good, you decided to throw that stone of love into that lake. What if that saved that person's life? And it's just this domino effect. That person then goes through life saying, you know what? Maybe this world isn't so bad. Maybe this is a good place after all. And then after time, they meet someone who they were supposed to, what creator intended them to meet. They have children. Those children, because and it's just that whole ripple effect. We don't know how far it goes. But if we decided to be a dickhead that day, all that good isn't going to happen anymore. And then there's people that try to counter my thought on that and be like, well, it's not my job to he made his choice. If that person was at a bus stop and just all of a sudden did something that pissed me off and I said F off and they went home, I don't know. I'm not going to know about it. I'm not going to understand. Like it doesn't affect me. Yes, it does. And this is kind of where the Cree people say Wakutuan, which is interconnectedness with everything. This is how the Ojibwe say Gakadigago, and just everything, all of it is all together. You think that somebody that you've crossed paths with and either you did a good thing or a bad thing is not going to affect the world that you live in? You don't think that that's going to alter or change into something that could have been awesome? Maybe I'm rambling here. I really wish that those people had time. Um, just to recap, maybe I was rambling a little too much, but just to recap, um, say say what you mean, do what you say, be kind to yourself with the words that you speak to yourself. When you're speaking about others, try to think about because I know in my life I've said some things that I wish I wouldn't have said, that I have a lot of regrets saying. you know Either I've lost some friends, family, where I said the wrong thing out of anger, and then now I'm not going to have that time back, or I'm not going to have that person in my life again. Words have the power to give life and death. Be congruent with what you say. Separate your thoughts to your feelings, because when you think or when you speak with feelings, it's good as long as it's congruent with what actually happened. I've had a lot of people talk to me as a couple, uh, and sometimes I see a partner will speak with emotion. You know, well, I feel like you did this, so it must be so. And it's like, but did they do that? Did they actually say that? Did they show it to you that way? No, but that's how I feel. Okay, well that's okay that you feel that. But if they haven't actually done that, why are you getting upset at that? Understand the difference between uh when you're when you should be grateful for things, kind of like, and I really like this story. I have a I have a brother. He's not racist at all. Not racist at all. He became a youth pastor and he was over in Calgary. And he calls me up and he says, "Hey bro," says, "Guess what?" I said, "What's up, man?" He says, I'm a youth pastor." I said, "Hey, that's good. Right on. Good for you." He says, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "What's up?" He said, "How come you people pray to trees?" Again, he's not racist. He's kind of ignorant, but he's not racist. And I said, "Well, what do you mean? You know, you natives, how come you guys pray to trees? Why do you guys do that?" So give me an example, man. Says, "I see you native people, you put tobacco on a tree and then you'll like say a little prayer, drop it, hold it and say another prayer." And then he's like, "Because in my religion, that's sacrilegious." I said, "Okay. What are you asking?" He says, "Why do you guys pray to trees?" I said, "Okay. Let me ask you something. What are you sitting in right now?" He says, "My house." "Okay. What's that made out of?" He's like, drywall and wood." I said, wood. Where does that come from?" "Trees." I said, "Okay. When you want an apple or an orange or any type of like animal that eats those things and you're hungry, where does that source of food come from?" He says, "Trees." I said, "Okay. When we were younger and we used to like build tree houses, what was made out of those tools?" "Wood and trees." I said, "Bro, what are you breathing right now?" He says, "Air." "Where does that come from?" "Trees." When we got ourselves educated and we read those books, and even as kids collected comic books, what was that made out of? Trees. When we were playing and we were running around the neighborhood and we had fun, and let's say we got really overheated because it was a hot summer day and we drink some lemonade, what did we used to sit under? Trees. When we went skiing sometimes or snowboarding and we had a fire afterwards to warm up because we were just shivering cold, what did we burn to have warmth? Trees. I said, "Little bro, we don't pray to a tree. All we do is we say thank you for everything that it gives us. I'm going to say thank you to something that gives me tools, books, shelter, snacks to eat, air to breathe, warmth in the winter, shade in the summer, all of these beautiful things that a tree gives me. I'm going to give tobacco and I'm going to say, thank you, tree, for giving me all of these things." It starts with your communication. And then your communication, you can change your mindset. There's things that are put in place, and there's even people that are very um, knowledgeable, and they're able to share that. Yeah, you need to change your mindset, and I hear it a lot. Change your mindset. Yes, that's correct. But it starts with your communication. It starts with your language. It starts with how you want to be in life. Change your vocabulary to I can't to not yet. Some people tell me that Daniel, you're never going to amount to anything. Not yet. Daniel, you're not going to finish school. Not yet. Daniel, you're not going to get out of the gang. Not yet. Daniel, you're not going to, whatever it was that I was told that I couldn't do, I've done. You're not going to be able to start a nonprofit organization. Not yet. You're not going to, all of these people that say that they love me, my family, my friends, who I thought were my friends, who I thought was family. You're not going to be able to do this. And here's one of the things that I really don't like when people say this to other people that they say that they care about. You need to be realistic. You need to be realistic. That's one of the most damaging things that you can tell to someone that has a dream, a goal in life, or wanting something. Well, you need to be realistic. Or how about this? Well, it's good to have that, but you need something to fall on. Whenever I hear those kinds of language, it's almost like they want to spread all these false narratives that they've created for themselves. The reason why they didn't write that book, the reason why they didn't make that YouTube video, the reason why they, like all of these different things, right? The reason why they didn't finish their degree in university, the reason why they didn't get a diploma, the reason whatever it is, they've been so good at creating excuses for themselves that they want to share that failness, if that's a word, with you. Unknowingly, perhaps, but those type of people, well, you need to be realistic. You need to, no, I'm telling you, this stranger right here is telling you, talk yourself into good health, into amazing hopes, and imagine it. It will happen. Talk to yourself that way. Tell yourself it's going to happen. Our words and our mind is so powerful that we can think ourselves into sickness, but we can also think ourselves into health. My name is Daniel Sakachikapo. There was so many things that I wanted to talk about, but it's kind of hard just doing it just by myself. Um, but I think that I shared, all the main points that I wanted to share. And to recap, um, speak kindly to yourself. That's about it. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. Hit that notification button. Subscribe to me if you'd like. It's Anishinaabe Kiken Mogewin. My name is Daniel. And yes, Niguapman.